back again with part 2 of my discussion video. Last time I talked and focused more like on the ban list, my words. But I lightly touched on like the errata parts. I want to save that for like another video so I can like deep dive it just a little bit just to get you introduced. If you don't know what an errata is, it's basically a thing that has two paths in the game, which can be good or bad. They usually use to either fix a grammatical mistake, like maybe forgot a period or inserting a colon or a comma, which could radically change an effect and like make things that's supposed to have a cause or that were intended to have a cause work differently. So they make erratas to fix that. The other reason we had erratas, and we haven't used that part of it for a while, is to adjust the power scale of a specific card or leader, which that's going to be a big topic going into later, which I was going to introduce into this. But usually, like I said before, we haven't used the bad end or the second part of that in a good while, and going and having an introspective look of how the format is today, I think it's, how should I say, malleable enough and more fluid enough to reintroduce other cards from a different era back into the mainstream as they were. And I don't think there'll be too much issue or problem with that or going out, because like I know there's a wide variety of players coming back into the game, and some just starting the game for the first time, and some just coming from Fusion World. I don't think they'll dive too deeply heavy going backwards, and most likely stick with what's currently out and going forward. And that same goes for the old players, because like some of the cards of that era zenithed in that era. If you bring them to this era, the ceiling won't be that high. And I'll explain what I mean on that a little bit later. But the big topic is, can we Un-Eratta'd cards and let them play out in today's format? Take a second to answer that question. But my answer to that is yes. I strongly believe we do. It's more than possible, and it wouldn't really check or upset the balance of the game. And the direction of the current game design is just, if we do it correctly and slowly weed stuff back. Let me start off with something light, just to accentuate my point. Lovely, nice stamped Gohan, Uneasy Awakening. This was really good for a few reasons, and the main reason why it was hit or errata'd, because this is the text as it stands now. It does all of the above except for the last 3 words on the card. You can, for the sake of argument, can call those last 3 words redacted. Those last 3 or 4 words. Was those last 3 or 4 words? Then draw a card. But every same leader got this, but only Childhood Gohan got the draw. Only thing. And I don't mind effects like that in the game when they're locked to a archetype. We're getting additional bonuses for playing the archetype. I think that's pretty good design in my opinion. The thing at the time where there were a lot of up in arms about it is the fact that Gohan was one of the strongest and most represented decks ever. 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 Even more so than Red Sun, which everybody hates Red Sun, and SS4 Red, Goku and Vegeta, or Gogeta, Red Gogeta, on the fusion side when they Z awaken, but it's Red SS4, Goku and Vegeta. But I don't really like hitting cards because of dominance too much. So I think this was like a soft Bandaid to mitigate the effectiveness of the deck. So they took away some draws because this, you don't plus on this at all. No plus to be found. At best, it replaces itself. It's just a regular negate that has a quote-unquote floodgate attached to it, but you can still play around and through it. It's really not that strong of a floodgate, especially inside green, because this is based around green's main function, which is lowering the hand size, but this is one card at a time. If this was 2 cards at a time, it would be crazy, because it's basically normally just a negate, and then this, additionally, if you have 4 or less, in order for them to swing, they gotta Z-charge one of their cards from their hand. Simple enough. And it had an additional effect where you could activate it by discarding a card from hand. So even additional minus. And in order to get that floodgate, like I say, I'm skipping over words. You have to discard the card. So essentially, 3 cards. This is a -3 just to negate the attack and stop your opponent. That is a lot of card value in today's game, even back then. That's why the draw for the Gohan Pacific decks was so important, just to keep hand advantage up. And at best, like again, I want to say it again, at best, you broke even if you just using it for a regular negate inside Gohan. I think that should be brought back because of how, if you notice, a lot of our defensive pieces are getting good value or replacing themselves or doing one thing or another or searching soon as you negate, just like the Bulma. And it all started, I want to say, history of Z, when we started doing the path that set 21 left us in 6 sets before. Allow me to introduce Exhibit A. Usually have the same function and has additional effects depending on what type of deck you're running in, but most people like these style of negates because they replace themselves, or they can negate the attack and replace themselves. And to further breaking down, just to break down card economy a little bit, you always want to do efficient plays where it's not too much of a drain on your hand size, and like defending in general is a drain on your hand size, while the attacker don't lose any card advantage for attacking, but you lose card advantage for defending, or else you'll just take life. That's the general premise of it. It goes a little deeper, but that's the general idea of it. And like, in order to keep hand size or preserve it so you can continue on and pilot out your strategy, they make cards like these were really good, or started to be introduced more and in different colors and for different types of effects. So, because say if this was just a regular negate attack, that is a -1 from hand. Since this lets me negate attack and draw a card, I don't lose any card advantage because it replaces itself. That's what I was meaning by the whole replacement thing. But I would say for this era, this can be fully Un-Eratta'd. No problems. And I think we're going to get even more cards like this that's pretty zany. That's my guess on how it's looking. I got a whole video series from looking at how the game's going from where it's been, and certain things we anticipated to see and didn't see, or did see and had a payoff. But the big problem is people are impatient to wait. But I will get back to that towards the end of the video. And for those people. But my next card I want to make a case for. Ooh, it's tough. This card right here. This is the original card. And this is like our championship version. Also, going back to that when we get to prizes, when stuff is Un-Eratta'd, it, especially if it was a power card or a powerful card, it affects our pricing where stuff is complained into high extent to the point where our pricing is already on the print and it's wrong on release because there needs to be a new wording now because we couldn't wait. This doesn't have the correct text. This doesn't have the correct text. Also, during the 23 season, Android 16, that was for the Gohan deck, was banned. It was a dead card in your price pack. If you got that price pack, you lost money. Simple and point and blank. Your investment, you picked wrong because they couldn't wait after they had to nerf it before. And that just affected the price pool. And I hate when that happened. And I'm like, I'll save my thoughts on that going to this end and then wrap it up. But getting back to where I was going too much of a tangent and just stay focused on the line. I think Invoker is a really interesting deck, and it's pretty much it's a deck that plays into the future, I would say, because you need to sculpt your turn so far in advance, and the whole premise of Invoker and the Invoker style of decks and playstyle is about setting those building blocks. This was one of the cards to help you do it effectively and efficiently, but the main errata difference on this card was from 1 red energy to like a red blue and plus 1 of anything. So 3 energy total. They made this a little bit harder. They made you have to weather the storm as Colts in order to be able to use your Invoker effects. Because generally, Invoker, there is no leader with Invoker. I will rejoice today that we got a leader with a printed keyword skill Invoker on the card. But it'll be a long day before that happened. So they made this because like the thing with Invoker and how removal is today, it's easy to get rid of battle cards with Invoker because that's the only time you have Invoker on the card. I don't even think is there an Invoker on that 17 and Frieza Unison? I don't think so. If Legends would have made that have an Invoker skill on that card, that would have been busted. But I don't. It's been a while since I've really dived into the depths of that thought process of ultra instinct and that big brainness. Cause like another caveat I want to say to this is like out of all the invoker players to have success or continuous success, there's only like three, I would say maybe 3.5 in the world. In the world to have an extreme amount of consistent success with it. That was, I think, Legends, Sublet, and maybe Peter Dance, maybe? Because I know he played a few events with Invoker over in it was him and maybe somebody else. I know there was maybe one other person that's not NA. I'm just familiar with the NA people, and shout out to Dent. But I would say the half a person is maybe Evan U7. Shout out to him. He's been doing U7 stuff for the longest. That would be our half a person. But it's really hard to pilot the deck, and it's been known for a long time that it is the pinnacle of skill expression. Playing UI Surge Goku, because it's so difficult, but yet so rewarding. Because the payoff is game-winning combos, but you have to survive and craft your turn and not lose too much resources along the way just to get there. There's so many hurdles and trucks through mud. A lot of people is not going to stay on that journey. I guarantee it. And I think bringing this back is just kind of like a reward for those people who willing to take the journey. I say difficulty should not be the excuse to exclude. But that's my opinion on that. But when it was as it was strong. It was powerful, I would say. But the wins based on this or based because of this wasn't given, wasn't free, wasn't easy. You still had to be a certain caliber of player to get there. But that's what I'm going to say on that soapbox. There's a few other stories and caveats, but I don't want this to be like a super duper long video, almost 20 minutes in. And I got like 6 other cards to get to, but Invoker, I think this MVP 17 can come back as his usual stats. This is not the Un-Eratta'd one, but this I just want to show you what the original card looked like. Now, this subsection is leader based. There's a few other erratic cards I could get into, but I just want to ease y'all in with that. But these leader based, it'll be an easy, quick go to. This is Reboot Soul Striker, or Son Goku Returns, basically. Waking at 4 life. And flip over, and you get this leader. This was the same as the set 1 leader, but they ripped off the skill that, or part of his awakening skill that lets you have a 3 Pacific cost blue unison for your early awakening. They just took that right off and said having this leader at a high life was too strong and broken. But I don't even like to use the word broken that much. It just was really good. This is still occasionally seeing play, but being at 4 is a lot for blue. Because, like, essentially in this game of 8 life, you already halfway dead. And, like, by the time you get there, you'll be in such a dilapidated debilitating position that you fighting for your life the remainder of the way. But once you get your ground, you're pretty unstoppable. That's what it means to be blue. Have that stopping power. But I think you can give it this alternate awakening back, because like even though it might hurt some to say, I think there are better blue decks out there. Even if you gave it its awakening condition back, because like you either, or just to put it simply like this, so I don't take too much time, the things we're doing right now, it doesn't really matter if you had the unison on 3 to play. The energy marker helps, yes, but by the time that happens, and usually with Panzino running around, or Rentu, and you got all these other aggressive style of decks, you already going to be at 4 life anyway. It's just the extra caveat for those slower matchups, like maybe Zamasu Mill, or what you call it? What's that other control deck that people thinks control deck can do other things? Great Saiyaman, Nova. That deck can kill you on turn 3, so it wouldn't matter for that. But I think we're in a time, and there's enough diversity where it wouldn't matter if this went back to full power. And it would be an interesting, I would say it'll be interesting to see how it would develop in the meta. Given that, my opinion is it still wouldn't do as much as the other blue leaders in the format. Like Rinsu, like I said before, Gamma, and we got the new blue cooler coming out. I think that's going to be another leader to the fold. But I think this can be at full power. I know I was watching Lookout Scream, and he identified it like, can he posed the question, can this come back to full power? And to answer the Lookout, I think yes. I think we can have full power reboot Soul Striker. But segueing that off to my other guy, there is no reason for this to have an errata on it. None. Zero. In fact, this needs hella support. I need the Kefla treatment times 10. If you didn't know what it did before, people, and I'm like looking at those people funny now, just looking back at it, but I guess hindsight's 2020. For what we do now, what leaders do now, the card advantage do now, they were mad because it drew an extra card on its front side. That's it. Example being, let me just grab this. What this leader basically did, it lets me look at top card. I don't like that card. I want to put it on the bottom. Draw a card. That effect made it ban worthy. Errata list. Get that out of here. Can you, for all my players that haven't been playing more than a year or two, could you imagine a community that was raging about that effect compared to what we have now? I said the same thing. It was a cool control leader because you didn't have to attack for advantage, but I would say the surge effects disability is they were forced to stay on the front side longer, which means you have to encumber. Mad pressure and sees out the right opportunity to Surge Awaken so you can use your effects. And even if you Surge Awaken, which you can Surge Awaken at any time, you're not guaranteed your effects are alive until you hit a certain life total, which made it that much difficult, but not impossible. That's why there's murmurs that Surge format was the skillful format, and we kind of in a renaissance of that since we're back in the multicolor era, which hope we can bring a lot of different multicolor deck building back into the game. It started off with the anniversary box of 2025, but then we teetered out because we said only Surge Coup was good, but then we found out Majin Vegeta's was also good, and then we later found out Kefla was good, but never know until you explore. But also another thing, this used to do like a little bit of hand control, but nothing too crazy like this other leader I'm going to mention. But I was just missing it now. This was the crazy hand control deck people. This leader is banned. Can it come back? Debatably, I think so. There's a few cute combos and play lines and routes with this leader. But they said, nope. That surge effect is ban worthy, strong. It's basically a crusher ball for like 2 turns. But you only get 2. Only get 2. But they felt that was too strong and banned it. I think this can come back full power, but as a side tangent. But I do think you should bring this back to full power and let it give it a true fighting chance against the other decks in competition. I would love to play this as it was at full power. I say the only thing that they errated on this is, you see right here at the active main / battle, they scratched off the battle and just made this active main. That's it. That's all. Being able to skill negate on your opponent's turn was too strong apparently. But we got a lot of things with barrier nowadays. That's not that bad. It's fine, I said. It's not that bad, I said. And people will still... I don't think people... Even if you gave it full power, I don't think people would still play this. Especially this. Bandaid bring this back. Un-Eratta'd. This you might think a little bit on. But I don't think it'd be that bad. Only player I might play is maybe Klinger. Or, let me rephrase that. Only player that might have success with it. I've been seeing a lot of good Surge Coup players. I think he was like the only one at top out of the anniversary box meta. But I think this, with the pieces it got, Piccolo needs twice as much. Because you need a whole lot of work. We did get one card that let me use my Surge effect 1 life higher at 4, but it cost like 3 or 4 energy just to put it in play, and that's not worth it. Bandaid, do better for Piccolo. If anything, if you watched this much to this point, hashtag in the comments, justice for Piccolo. Justice for Piccolo. Because what... I'm so frustrated, can't even get into words, because I really like this leader. I know when everybody was on him, it was like a 70-30 thing. I'm like, I like my Piccolo. I like the combination of blue and green most, because there's a lot of cute interactions with that. But only type that they locked a lot of the cool blue-green stuff to androids. I just want that to be more open. He is the central co-leader for blue-green. But do they want to give us that? No. But going on to my next one. Super Shenron. If you don't know about this, this was a cool leader that let you take an extra second turn by shuffling 20 cards back into your deck. I think this was one of my things I wanted to revive because Mill was a thing. Super Shenron. And also a good tech. If you don't know what the errata is, the errata is you have to put back 30 battle cards from your drop. It used to be 20 cards, period. 20 cards, period. And that was doable. And I think around those days, this was like the perfect one. I think it was still 50 back then. Deck creativity had to be on point because I'm like finding the perfect 50 cards for that. But this is something I think can go back to the way it was, and people still wouldn't play it. I'll put money on it. If you change it back to the way it was, it will not break top 8 in any regional level higher orbit. The thing is, it's a black leader. If you can't see, it's black. And black doesn't have really great defense or floodgates. So you have to survive. And usually, back then, we had to last for like a whole 5 to 6 turns. And this day and age, that's easier said than done. Not impossible, but it takes a lot. Usually you're dying on turn 4 and 5. And like, you use most of your pieces that you need for your combo to stay alive. The other honorable mention that I don't have in front of me that I couldn't find for time for this video is Purunga, which was another Namekian dragon. It was another black leader. The difference was in that is that had kind of like a revival effect from the drop area. And just imagine it. Depending on how much energy you have, you could revive one battle card from your drop, depending on equal to or less than the amount of energy you have. And you know what that errata'd was to? It was errata'd to 3 drop or less. 3 drop or less. That is despicable. They gave it the world peace treatment because that was basically the desired card, world peace. I think I still have it. Just give me 1 second. I got that in my binder. I look at that every now and then. Not every day, but every now and then. I don't have that other dragons, but I do have the world peace. And it's basically one of his last fish effects, which effects like this. This is errata'd to be 3 or less. But this was a really good card back in Wish format. And 2 of my favorite formats was Wish, Shenron Wish, that's what the SW for, and Surge format. Best, most intriguing format, most skill intensive, the most creative. Every adjective under the sun described those 2 formats. Still the height of the height for me. But I think this can come back and still won't do nothing. It'll shake some things up at locals, but that's about it. And my last one, hopefully I didn't throw the card somewhere. This one right here, this one went from Un-Eratta'd to ban. But they made a plated card of this year one, and nobody played it. This was one of the metal cards when we had metal cards. Nobody played it year one. Let me phrase that. This was a fun deck year one. The next year, somebody topped with it. It was just a one-off. Yeah, fun. Rogue. And then the summer and leading up to Nationals, it topped again. Then again. Until it was the big bad. And it was banned. Let me just go over the errata. They usually like to give blue leaders that awaken early or have an alternative awaken the errata of gotta be half dead just to awaken. But then that was still playing, or people were still playing it. Go watch I want to say our 2022 finals, where the format was, I believe it was Red Sin, SS4, Goku and Vegeta, and this. This was the answer to the meta that people hated, and they banned it. They banned it after the work was done. And I'm like, even still, I think this is still a pretty intriguing and intuitive combo deck, because it requires setup and it has optimal stability, but you have to play it correctly. Not to the insane difficulty as Invoker, but it's still pretty up there. But one day a fun deck can turn into meta banned out of nowhere. I think this deck can come back. It was a pretty cool premise. It's not doing too much in this current format, cause like a lot of decks does what this deck does better. Yeah, you got a cool, crazy awaken turn, like draw +3 or 4. But what deck doesn't do that nowadays anyway? But I think this was like a pretty cool deck. But the sad thing about when they errata leaders or just take away the leader in general, all the cards that were attached to it goes with it, like as if it was shadow banned. And that's a big problem when, and why I think they went away from outright banning leaders for so long, because like we lost a whole archetype and they never made a blue Super Saiyan God. I think they need to reboot this card and bring it back. I don't really think it'll be that bad, because like it's still like adjustments that need to be made. Like any leader pass or before Zenkai needs to acclimate to the new mechanics and format. And if it's not built into it already, you have to put in extra work to fit in or get more adjusted. But the fact that this is based on comboing and going into the active battle or using active battle effects, put it on par to keep up. I think it definitely can keep up, but to be the best out there, I don't think so. But let me know your thoughts on that. But overall, I think this would shake things up if it came back tomorrow. No doubt. Do I think it would be tier 1? No. Tier 2? Yes. Be kind of like the top of tier 2. I wouldn't even break it more than that. The only, with any deck from tier 2, I would say the only thing that carries it over is the pilot. If you have a competent pilot, and how should I say? I don't want to always say top player because that top player thing got a negative connotation to it, but I'm just gonna say competent pilot. You can do things with fundeds. But this has been whew, I didn't even intend to go that long, but I'm gonna leave it there. But for your deck to function, you need to acclimate to 5 different categories, 5 different areas. And I'm going to leave that off for another video. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you later.